Chandan Varshney is an entrepreneur and former Amazon leader with over 17 years of experience in product management and supply chain innovation. He co-founded OnlyHydroponics to drive sustainable, soil-free farming in India. A mentor to startups and an advocate for clean food systems, he blends business expertise with a strong commitment to environmental impact.
Thanks, everyone. This is going to be insightful. I will try to match the mantle that Dr. Jayant has done. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put up slide, and while we will put up slide for the purpose of having a structure to it, it's going to be a, communicable workshop. We will discuss this more. This is something that we all face in our real life. Uh, right? It's not something which is rocket science. It's not something which requires a degree. It's not something that requires any sort of formal education. These are the things which we're going to talk about, which we all see in daily life. And a lot of times we wonder why we are doing the way we are doing, right? But never stop to take a pause and really want to do something about it. So let me start with a quick introduction. My name is Chandan Varshney. I think the introduction was done in the morning. This is me, generally very happy at my farm. This is how I look when I'm at my farm. When I'm at my home, this is how I look. So this is one of the largest hydroponics tomato farm in India. This is our farm in Greater Noida. Uh, I worked in corporate for almost 14 years in total, and then got into sustainable farming, agriculture, and overall advocating for sustenance in that, right? And today we're gonna talk about basics of what strong sustainability means, how we can leverage that in our day-to-day life in agriculture especially, and we will also discuss about a case study in the food industry itself. You know why some of the companies are doing slightly different. Right? With that, I'll start. This is what the roadmap will look like, and we'll spend some time on strong sustainability. It's slightly different than the regular sustainability that we on day-to-day life we talk about, right? Uh, we will start with what are the principles of strong sustainability, identifying nature's capital, identifying limits, then working on innovation and supply chain integration. After doing all this, then how do we measure success? What are the challenges that have come? And then what are call to action from our side? Um, right. So let's just first focus on what is strong sustainability and how is that different than uh, regular sustainability. So strong sustainability, as the name suggests, is a stronger version of the regular sustainability that we talk about, or in this context, we will talk about strong sustainability and weak sustainability. So we'll talk about, in this context, we will use weak sustainability as a competition, but weak really doesn't mean negativity, but it's just a different mode of sustainability. The very fundamental basic difference is weak sustainability assumes that we can replenish everything, um, right? Strong sustainability does not assume that replenishment is possible in short to medium term. And we'll give a simple example. And I think many of us, during the initial sessions, initial introduction, when we talked about our cities, I think majority of us talked about how real estate development is happening in their cities, how much population pressure they have in each of these cities, and so on and so on. Right? Typically, what each of us do, or a large builder or a real estate company does, right? Uh, they see they convert a forest land into an human residential plot. So they cut the whole trees, or trees which have been there for maybe hundreds and more than that, right? And kills the whole ecosystem with that. Build a new property in that, build very fancy, very beautiful apartment buildings in that. And then they claim that whatever trees were cut due to this project, let's say 500 trees were cut due to this project, or 1,000 trees were cut due to this project, we have replanted 100, 500 or 1,000 plants in the same project. And hence, uh, we don't have any debt of nature. We have just replenished everything. However, it's untrue from the strong sustainability perspective. When we are talking about a healthy forest environment, one, we are talking about mature, healthy trees that were there. They are not replaceable by smaller saplings, or a banyan tree is not replaceable by your roses, right? It may be 1:1, but it's not replaceable by that. The amount of shade, the amount of shelter, the amount of uh, ecological impact a banyan tree will have, a rose plant will never have. So replacement is not 1:1, even though numerically it may look 1:1. Secondly, uh, the age factor comes into play. A tree or a forest which is 100 and 200 or 1,000 year old, replacing it with a new environment with new set of plants and trees is not the same thing. And the whole ecosystem around it, whether it is with respect to birds or insects or snakes or any reptiles, anything like that, it's non-replaceable. That's the basic fundamental difference. That's how I have understood 4 or 5 years ago when I started learning about sustainability after my corporate job. That this is what the real sustainability is. Real sustainability is not by saying, "Oh, we have done this, but we will do something else, so it's equal," right? Uh, it's not. And hence, understanding for each of the industry, for each of the step, for each of the business decision, whether you are breaching into uh, a natural resource where it is unreplenishable, and then do a trade-off rather than just assume that uh, we will be able to replenish it. Right? There are many examples that will come to your mind when I'm talking about it, and this is the time when people can speak up. I know you guys have been little shy of speaking up, but you would have seen this in your day-to-day life. Each one of you, whether it is real estate, whether it is your vehicles, whether it is anything else. Now, as I said, strong sustainability, preserving the critical natural resources. There are resources which you will find that we can use and replenish. There are resources that we can find that we can replace it in a different manner. And then there are resources which we can't replace. So understanding that and then preserving what we cannot replenish is strong sustainability. Now, as a company in India, Only Hydroponics, we have built our whole company in embedding overall sustainability principles into our strategy, whether it is for farms, whether it is for our supply chain, whether it is for uh, packaging material, to our vendors, to our suppliers, to our contractors. We are built in each of the steps. Again, by no mean I meant to say this is perfect, right? We are learning every day, we are implementing every day, but our core and principle remains same, that we want to embed these principles into our company and organization. And whenever we are taking a decision, we are uh, using a strong sustainability lens to understand whether this decision is right or wrong, right? So it's not just profit driven, it's not just short term revenue or top line driven, it's much more than that, right? And as part of that, we identify nature's capital, we identify limits. As I said, we embed sustainability, and then we measure things which are beyond short-term profit. Right? We'll talk about it in a bit, but all of these things results in long-term output. I think in my previous session, Dr. Jayant also gave a very big example of long-term impact about stopping a river flowing into sea. While it may sound very just at this time because you need the water at that stage, right? It may sound very humane that we are helping the larger human society. The long-term outcome of that could be disastrous, and hence understanding that upfront before making a business decision is very, very vital. Now, what and why this is difficult to do? Because most of the organizations today are focused on profitability, showing numbers to their investors, showing number to their stock market, showing numbers to their employees, right, and attract better talent. And all of that happens. We are into a phase of world where everything is measured in just hardcore dollar numbers, and that's what makes it so difficult. Because justifying that we are making a loss today or making a less profitable decision today because 50 years later or 30 years later this will give us better results is not easy. Because well, your share prices will go down if your profitability will go down. They will say, okay, maybe after 50 years it will go up. But what about today? What about your responses to your investors? What about responses to your employees who have ESOPs or RSUs sort of compensation structure? No one wants to work uh, in a company that is sinking or dying, or the share prices are decreasing. Everyone wants to work with the rising star, right? And hence it's very, very difficult to do. It requires you to have this embedded in your overall decision making framework for any decision. It also requires you uh, to confront some of these biases that other party may have, to confront it and to say that this is why we are doing. This is not something which can happen in behind the curtain. This has to come in front and has to happen, right? Adopt a mindset we already talked about. Understand that ec- along with economics, ecology or environment is uh, also a lever in your business decisions, and that's also a stand or a pillar of your business, right? And if we don't do that, if we understand only economics as uh, the only pillar, then we are bound to make short-term decisions which are profitable. How do we do this? It's easy from that perspective. Whenever we are making a decision, and we'll talk about agriculture, for instance. And for those of you who do not know hydroponics, I'll just spend 30 seconds on hydroponics now. Hydroponics is one of the latest agriculture technology where we are able to grow products without soil. We grow them in greenhouses or polyhouses, and hence we can protect them from external pest attacks. Thus, as a result, we are not using harmful pesticides in this journey. We are also saving soil from that perspective. This works really well for places where soil has already been degraded or degenerated from that perspective over due to over usage of urea and other fertilizers or pesticides, or just continuous agriculture over last many years. Right? This is one of the latest uh, technology which is allowing us to grow food with in the limited space, maximize yield without any chemicals. And in that journey, we are also saving water and soil as a result. So now this is why I have gotten into hydroponics agriculture, not the normal agriculture, because we are able to do the right thing. So we map all the resources, we identify critical dependencies. Uh, so, for instance, because we are not using soil, our critical dependency is clean water, because water could be a source of contamination for our crops now. How do we do this? Uh, Either we use a clean water source, which are nowadays very difficult to find, but luckily, some of my farms are in regions of India where we still have very clean groundwater, or we use a commercial grade RO system to clean the water. Now, one of the basic question that came to my mind is that whenever we use RO system, we know it leads to uh, a lot of water wastage for on an average for every 1 liter of water, clean water, there is 2 to 3 liters of water which is unclean, rejected water by any RO membrane. That doesn't mean we are throwing that water away, right? We have several usage of that water within our system. We use that for sprinklers. We use that for cool fogging into our plants. We use this for our cooling pads, right? Or we supply that back after filtration, one more level of natural filtration back to the groundwater. So we don't waste that water. And and our water usage anyway is 90% lower than normal agriculture because we use them in the closed loop system. We don't let water flow or seepage into soil. We don't let water go into any water bodies. We recycle 100% of water. So it's a closed loop water system. And then plants absorb the amount of water that they need and return the rest of the water back to the main reservoir of ours. So we use very, very little water in this agriculture technology that we have developed. And and even within that, we try to maximize to make sure that none of the water, not even a single drop of water is wasted, because we believe this is our limit of water usage. This water is non-replenishable, and we have seen this, right? While we all talk about there is a water cycle system, rain happens, then evaporation happens, then rain happens, and they replenish. But you pick any major city of the world, we have seen continuous degradation in the water table of that city. Why so? Because we cannot replenish at the pace at which we are using it. So we need to not just increase the speed of replenishment, we also need to decrease the speed of our usage. And hydroponics or agriculture in total, uh, worldwide agriculture usage accumulates to 70% of total freshwater usage. So agriculture is the biggest consumer of our freshwater resources. With hydroponics coming into play, we are trying to reduce that water usage and reduce the replenish or deplenishing water tables in that. Similarly, another thing that we do to understand this is we don't, when we are not using pesticides, uh, then how do we reduce pests? You go and find there are natural pesticides in forest, or natural predators in forest. And one of the simplest example is, I think most of us would have seen the infestation of caterpillars into some of the crops, whether it is leafy or non-leafy. Across the world, it's a common problem that caterpillars or butterflies or any flying insects come, lay eggs on the crops, and they become caterpillar. They start eating fruits or vegetables that we are growing for ourselves. Now we don't want to use pesticides in that. Uh, we have another insect called ladybug. I'm guessing most of you have seen that. Uh, Ladybug likes to eat caterpillars. Right? So in our farms, we actually bring in ladybugs, attract ladybugs in our farms. They in turn eats most of the eggs and caterpillars which are there in the farm. So this ecologically there is a cycle. We are not using any chemicals. We are using natural predators, and they are local. We are not bringing predators from outside ecosystem. Ladybugs are native to India and our region where we are growing. So it does not create any ecological imbalance. We just attract them artificially through some flowers or through some of the plants that they love, and in return, they make our farms pest free. Right? So understand, we could not have done that if we had not created that limit. So creating that limit that we will not use it, it's against our principle, and then finding an innovative solution to still do what you want to do is the way we think. So that brings in to my, what are the natural capital that we identified in agriculture. And please focus on this. We will be discussing this in the case as well, and I hope we will have a very active participation in that. This takes time to identify what is what is the capital, right? We already talked about water. Water is a essential capital, and we believe it is non-replenishable, which we just talked about, and energy sources. So I'm very proud to say that most of our farms today, while they are high tech, they use a lot of electricity, right? Uh, we don't use any fossil fuel driven electricity. All of our farms are solar powered, right? So while we are using a lot of power, our power is generated with renewable resources like solar, uh, and hence we are not again not breaching into the limits of going against strong sustainability. Right? In terms of plant pest control, plant biodiversity, as I said, understanding uh, which plants will attract the natural predators who will then do a pest control for you, right? Or grow local plants which will support the overall biodiversity, right? Or there are certain types of plants which themselves act as uh, pest repellent. I don't know how many of you know, neem is one of the plant in India. It's native to India. It's known for its repellent properties for harmful pests. So if you have neems around your farms, generally most of the pests will avoid that farm. So you can, and neem is very healthy from their leaves perspective. Its fruit is very healthy. So you can get a lot of output for yourself. You can actually make it economically viable as well by planting neem, generating revenue from neem as well. At the same time, controlling all the pest attacks on your farm, right? And why? And coming to the point that how do you justify that uh, to your economical advisors, to your investors, to your uh, employees? Is what if this is degraded? The risk is just too high, right? If we continue to overuse our clean water, and what if it degrades, or what if the availability goes down next year? Uh, we will have a huge operational disruption. We will not be able to manage our quality and yield. Right? Hence, if we don't invest into building these repellent structures, pest repellent structures around our farm, it will just increase chemical usage. So one, chemicals are bad. Second, it is expensive as well. Uh, so it will increase the cost in long term if we don't invest today. Of course, and the second is the day you start using chemicals, your pest attacks doesn't reduces. It just increases every year. Every year you have to increase more and more amount of chemicals, more and more concentration of those chemicals, or a better variety of those chemicals. So it's never 100% foolproof. Versus some of these natural ways, you can actually make it self-sustainable. This is going to sound like a little bit of a repeat, but we'll just talk about one thing here: soil. So far, we have not talked about soil. We talked about water. We talked about chemicals, but we also have limits set for our partner farms in terms of soil erosion. Right? So people who are doing hydroponics farming, they still have to set up the structure, move some soil, and so on. And then there are farmers with us who are doing greenhouse farming, but in soil. That's not hydroponic, but they're doing it in soil, but it's still protected farming without any harmful chemicals. Each of the places we set limits in terms of soil erosion because we believe soil erosion is non-negotiable. It's non-replenishable, just like water. Uh, eh, adding adding excess amount of urea uh, is not a solution to improve fertility of the soil. Just because you have made it really bad over last 100 years of farming doesn't mean you can add uh, in an unexplained amount of urea. So we set those limits with our partner farms as well. We select crops which increase biodiversity. We select crops which is meeting the environmental condition. So each of our farm grows a different type of crops. It's not the same product which is being grown in different farms. And then overall, then we create a leadership structure to say, think sustainable, uh, take some of the steps towards sustainability. We support them in taking those steps towards sustainability, and we show that vision that if we don't do this, then our future is not going to be thriving. Our future is not going to be as bright. What is the legacy that we're going to lead to our next generation? Right? And we have already seen this in. I was in US. I think that it's almost 12 years since that epidemic happened in San Francisco, one of the biggest tech cities of United States. It's in California. I think 2013 is the period where I'm talking about. Uh, it started to run dry. Their bore wells started to run dry. They had acute water shortages in whole of the city. And trust me, that is a city which is surrounded by huge amount of lakes, and huge lakes around it, right? But just because of the population pressure in that city and the over usage, and without thinking, we just kept using the water from the water tables. It started to run dry, and government then had to take very drastic decisions. I'm guessing they have removed that ban now, but for many years, in San Francisco, water bottles were banned. The regular drinking water bottle, they banned the whole water system. They wanted people to start replenishing or reusing the bottles, and don't throw away the rest of the water. So when government or people then have to take huge, and these are very tough decisions, it leads to a lot of uncomfortable situations. It leads to a lot of friction with the residents. If we need to avoid that, we need to act now, and that's what we are working towards. So, in our overall supply chain, now just a quick summary, uh, we protect local water resources, reduce any wastage which is there in the water. We also, as I said, recycle 90% of water. So our water usage is very, very low. Any material that we use, we make sure it is recyclable, ecologically viable. We are not using one-time or single-use plastic. And one of the great example of that, again, a cost-benefit analysis. And then how did we convert this uh, into a benefit for ourselves? Uh, Everyone in India, these vegetables are packed in single-use polybags across India. There are some limitations in terms of what microns to use and so on. But still, they're single use. They come either with heat seal or a sticker, so that when you open it, it sort of becomes unusable. You use the vegetable or fruit which is inside that and throw that poly bag. Right? US is in the same way. Europe is in the same way. I'm not uh, aware about other countries, but these are the places I have been to. When we were designing our packaging for hydroponics, we were very clear that we don't want to use single-use plastic, but the product requires plastic. So one, we worked with a manufacturer to create a biodegradable clear plastic. That's one. Second, instead of using a heat seal or a one-time usage seal, we added a zipper on top of it. Right? And hence now that poly bag on which we supply to our customer, they can reuse the bag up to 20 times before it becomes or before it breaks in a way. Uh, and then after that, that material is anyway biodegradable. Did it require additional cost upfront? The answer is yes. Did it require additional effort to do something which market is not doing? The answer is yes. However, to justify this to our overall economical side of business, uh, we created a lot of branding on our polybags, right? We created a lot of branding on our boxes. Now, an Indian customer, when they are using it 20 times at least before they throw it away, every time they use, they remember our brand, right? They remember us and say, oh shit, I forgot to order from these guys. I need to order again, right? It just creates a lot of uh, free marketing for us, right? So you can think of packaging material as a marketing tool. And if you do that, then it's not as economically bad as it sounds like, right? Because then you are diverting some of the marketing budget here. Anyone who is coming, your friends, your families, who are extended families coming to your house, and they see those boxes around their houses and say, "Oh, what is this on the hydroponics?" By default, we are getting a word of mouth marketing, right? We didn't reach out to that customer. We didn't spend on digital marketing. We didn't spend on Google, Facebook, Instagram to reach out to that, which are very expensive channels, by the way. But word of mouth marketing by introducing that packaging which lasts long, right, in their houses. So, so a lot of times, uh, an ecological decision is not a bad economical decision. You have to innovate to find ways to use that for your benefit. Moving on, energy consumption. We talked about most of our farms are running on solar. We have not yet started on wind energy. We may soon, but right now, most of our farms are solar powered, and hence overall consumption. I think we all agree. Overall carbon emission from our farms is very low. Most of our vehicles that run, they run on the least polluting fossil fuel source right now in India, which is CNG, compressed natural gas, or electric vehicles. Electric infrastructure is still very weak in India. So some vehicles are still running on CNG, but we don't use petrol or diesel vehicles. And then soil and land impact, which we just talked about. Overall, making sure that soil erosion is not going to happen. We're going to replenish soil. We're going to regenerate soil. We use a lot of naturally found compost that helps regenerate and regain the strength of soil, which what it used to be 100 years ago. But we have killed it over last 100 years by excess usage of chemicals. We are now bringing that back by a simple things like earth forms, as well as some of the complex methodology, the way we create our compost. This is the same thing that we do in our uh, partnerships as well. So whenever we are onboarding a supplier, I'm sorry, onboarding a supplier or partner is the same thing, which we just talked about, right? So we work with partner, for example, in the packaging example that I just gave, we work with our supplier or partner, recreated the whole polybag design to make sure it is sustainable. So we choose the right material, choose the right packaging, set the example for everyone, right? And make sure that your partner organizations are also following the similar rigorous process that you are doing uh, to follow that with their suppliers, with their processes, with their economical decision. And that's when you create a chain of change. Uh, just by doing this change at only hydroponics, we may not be able to bring that change at India level. But if we do this with our partners, then they do it with their partners, and in turns they do it with their partners. I think we can really make a change at a country level, and that's what we are trying to do. I won't say we have been successful. We just started. It's a long journey. We are trying to undo things which India and world has done over last 200 years of industrial revolution, green revolution, all type of revolution that we have brought in. We are trying to undo or recover some of the long lost land there. It's gonna take time. It's a very early stage for our journey, but we do see very clear signs of success initially. We do see consumer paying an attention to the changes that we are bringing in. We do see consumer appreciating the changes that we are doing it, and consumers are willing to even pay higher to support those changes, right? So you can again go back and make it economically better decision because you can market this as a sustainable product, and may charge a premium from the consumer. So, simple five things, five frameworks that we created for ourselves. Everything that we do, not just recyclable, not just compostable, it should be reusable as well. So we try to reuse it X number of times. Water recycling in the production, making sure supplier is also compliant. Overall carbon footprint is very, very low. And then any material that we use anywhere in our farm uh, is sustainable, is eco-friendly. It follows these four principles that we have. Once we do this, then our overall supply chain frameworks for hydroponic becomes complete, and we are able to grow products which are not harming the environment more than what they are providing it with. And hence, there is a replenishment to the overall thing. This we have talked about. Now, we also talked about, if we go back to our original very first slide, you've done all this, then how do you measure? And then how does your key matrices look like? Because this is what will come, one, to drive this continuous improvement, and also to show it back to your uh, investors, partners, market, everyone, that yes, this is the impact that we have driven. One non-negotiable, whatever boundaries that we have set, right? Uh, there is 100% compliance to those boundaries, and this is what we are doing. Then can we reduce the overall footprint or carbon footprint by at least 50%? Energy shift, as I said, majority of our farms are on renewable. So setting that goal and say 50% renewable energy usage. How do we reduce wastage? Right? We generate very little landfill on across our supply chain. Right? So that's that. Then overall monitor the health of your water resources, biodiversity, uh, and then your supply chain. So you do this all in a way within your uh, physical limit. This is within your factory, within your farms, within your packing unit, and so on. Supply chain may not be 100% within your limit. You may be outsourcing a lot of it. Uh, you may be having other companies like DHL or postal services supporting you. But then you go to them and make sure that they are also following these practices. At least drive 90% compliance from supply chain side as well, which may not be 100% with you, right? Doing this, they will also reduce costs. They will also gain momentum in this journey. They will also be able to market this better for their customers or consumers. So educating them, making sure that they are also compliant is something that you are not doing for your benefit, but also for their benefit. Once you create that framework with them, you will have a better compliance. When they see value, that yes, by doing this, I can save cost or I can improve my bottom line or top line, they will come supporting you. This is how we measure our performance. Okay? Uh, this I'll skip, uh, and then this is what we're doing. Right? So, ending with this note that we are committing to safeguard nature and innovate with boundaries of ecology for a thriving and sustainable hydroponic future. I should ideally be saying this agriculture future, but right now we are focusing a little bit more on hydroponics as a company. But overall, our vision is that in next 10 years, we expand ourselves into different technologies of agriculture, each of them sustainable, each of them following the boundaries that we are setting, each of them generating more economical wealth as well as ecological wealth compared to what it is using.